here for TDM. So, very experienced drafter as well. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, definitely. Again, it is worth noting, but at the same point, as you said, Riser, very, very, very powerful player. So by no means do I look at that and be like, oh, they're missing PK. This is gonna suck for TDM. Having a player like Riser, I think quite the fine sit-in. So.
Darn, we have to play with Riser.
I know, right? I'm sure that's what they're telling themselves right now. God darn it. So. I think they'll manage. I think they get by. But yeah, I can't wait to see what CM brings to the table. But obviously, bands have finished here, so let's go ahead and jump into it and see what we're doing with the bands. I'll let you go ahead and do that.
So Clan Milk going to start off with the first band here. They're going to start off on Tundra. No big surprise there. Followed up by Pebbles, Ophelia, Cthulhuphon, Jereziah, Tempest, Torturer, and Meraxis. So kind of per usual here. Fairly straightforward. The one jumping out of me, though, Break, you're seeing Jereziah banned. That's one thing that we haven't been seeing as much recently, especially with an Electrician still on the board, is one of those heroes that we just really haven't been seeing him a hell of a lot, banned or not banned. So other than that, looks pretty straightforward. Of course, Tundra being banned. No Moon Meander Tundra here.
Yeah. No Moon Meander. No Tundra going to be seen, but Silhouette, on the other hand, a hero that we have been seeing quite a bit of recently, especially played by Moon Meander. That's still a possibility, so we'll see if TDM decides to go with that. But yeah, as you stated, though, nothing too crazy with the bans here when it comes down to it. But the picks, first pick Glacius over there for Clan Milk, so going the strong support pick right off the bat. Even with a hero like Demented Shaman on the board, going with the first pick Glacius. Instead, so Magnus Bubbles a follow-up for TDM, but yeah, the first pick Glacius a little bit. I can see people questioning that maybe a little bit, but hey, it's a very powerful support hero, of course.
Definitely. I mean, it's sort of interesting that TDM actually passed up Demented Shaman in their first round of picks as well, of course, going with the Magnus Bubbles route. So wouldn't be surprised to see a DS picked up pretty quickly here. But I did want to comment on the Junglers band as well. That seems to be one of the things that we keep bringing up time and time again in the drafting phase. But it is definitely important to note an interesting mix of Junglers band here. As we saw, Parasite was still on the board and picked up by Clan Milk. So not too surprised to see that, but nice to see him capitalized on, of course, Keeper of the Forest open as well, which is also interesting.
Yeah, obviously a Z-Freak. Seeing him over there, wouldn't be surprised to see Keeper of the Forest. But yeah, it's not seeing the Demented Shaman picked up yet. It does intrigue me quite a bit so far. And I know, again, there was that patch. He didn't get touched in the patch, did he? I mean, I know we've kind of missed over a couple, but no, he definitely didn't get touched in that minor balance patch that we had this last Friday. So, yeah, being passed up here by both teams so far. We'll see if eventually one of these teams pick him up, but so far nothing coming of it yet. But yeah, the Parasite Electrician here to follow up for Clan Milk. So definitely a mix of an aggressive yet solid team put together. Valkyrie Plague Rider going to be the follow-ups here for Trademark Esports. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see, if we see something like a Valkyrie Magnus lane, and then perhaps a Plague Rider. Could be a solo if they go Keep the Forest, of course. So we'll see how TDM finishes off here.
Yeah, certainly right. I mean, they are definitely gearing up for a strong roster, solo bubbles, and what's really nice about TDM's draft here is they have a lot of options. Plague Rider is one of those kind of versatile heroes who can solo in the suicide lane, but he can also be one of those heroes that pairs up very nicely with someone else. Especially with that slow and kind of non-stop harass that he can pull out, as well as the lane control. So now they really have a lot of options. They could go with a jungler here, or they could pick somebody up to try and pair with that Plague Rider, which is certainly good. Pardon me as I type here, as I go on DND, as I tend to forget to do that before people start PMing me with all sorts of
questions.
All sorts of stuff. Someone's having a problem with the full screen option. I think that would be best reserved for Twitch TV, but indeed, appreciate it nonetheless. But we'll see what CM does here. Let's get the right-clicking Hag Magebane combo, which would certainly be interesting. And, we didn't really talk about that during the bans, but Magebane's still on the board, and CM going to go ahead and capitalize on that. So this could be a little bit rough for TDM. Magebane, kind of the ultimate hard carry, as he's become known to be.
Yes, he is. So Clan Milk going with the strong Magebane pick to finish off here in game number 1. And again, their lanes now looking pretty obvious. The Glacius Magebane, Wretched Egg Electrician solos, and of course Parasite going to be in that jungle. Definitely going to come down to can they get the Magebane in the farm. And, depending on how TDM plays, like I said, the possibility of seeing a Magnus Valkyrie lane, if they go up against that Glacius Magebane, could cause some issues for them, albeit Parasite may very likely be in that Legion jungle. So, again, that's where the mind games come into play, and depending on how you want to do it. So, there we go, though. Sandwraith picked up once again here by Trademark Esports. I
Wow.
say once again because obviously those that were tuning in, it was the ESO finals, I believe it was, against Frey.
Mhm.
Trademark ended up winning that series and that game where they picked up Samwraith and they ran him in a tri-lane. So
Yeah.
they're liking this lately, apparently.
Definitely. So what's really interesting about this pick for me, though, is they don't really have a tri-lane setup. I mean, they might be able to get away with it, but I mean, what are we looking at in the way of tri-lane here? I don't think. I mean, Valkyrie is not really a tri-lane here. A Magnus, Plague Rider, Sandwraith tri-lane. I mean, does any of that make sense to
I
you,
guess
Frank?
it's going to be a Magnus, Plague Rider, Samwraith tri-lane if they do that. I mean, it doesn't need to be a tri-lane, though. It could be Plague Rider, Samwraith with, like I said, Magnus, Valkyrie still, and then Bubble solo. So, yeah, I mean, there are some options here for a Hellborn team. And, you know, there can be considered to be a risk of running a tri-lane, and it's something we started to see near the end of the tri-lane era, where a team's starting to go 2-2-1 against it, where they went 2 versus 1 against the 2 solos, really forcing the tri-lane team to make adjustments very early on. Obviously, with our Legion team, they don't have a makeup for that. They are going to be running a jungler with Parasite, so, I mean, that could be perhaps a mindset that tdM have. But no, it is going to be a dual lane as we see Magnus and Valkyrie heading towards that top. And then, of course, Plague Rider and Sandwraith, they're actually going to go on bottom to match up against the Mage Bane combination. So, or it's not going to be, though. Interesting. So,
This is going to be interesting nonetheless. As I mentioned in that ESL match you were referring to, I have seen very, very little Sandwraith. He was nerfed to all hell by the time I got into the competitive scene. So now seeing him not in a tri-lane, just that sort of odd occurrence is a treat for me as well. So I'm going to be really curious to see how this works out for tdM.
yeah.
And also interesting that we're kind of reverting back now to these 2 hard melee agility carries, which is, you know, something that we really haven't been seeing a lot of recently. So it's going to come down to that kind of who's going to carry harder. Is it going to be Mage Bane or is it going to be Sandwraith? And that's sort of an interesting conundrum to tackle as well.
Yeah, very, very true point to bring up. Not too often in recent competitive HON that we have double melee agility carry heroes going at it against one another. And that's definitely a case of it here. You know, kind of looking back at that stage, it really used to make for long, drawn-out games for simply the obvious being that both teams would try to get as much farm as possible on those carries and then eventually try to take over in that mid to late game stage. But because it isn't a tri-lanes for either side, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a little bit of a mix-up from that. I do question the idea, though, of sending this Mage Bane Glacius top, however, but I think they're doing that perhaps expecting Magnus Valkyrie to be down there, because, you know, it's not, I highly doubt that Clan Milk wants to face their lane against that Magnus Valkyrie, knowing the very powerful double stun combination that it has, and if they catch Glacius any sort of bad positioning, he will die 100%. I mean, there's nothing Mage Bane can do, obviously, to save him, so I do question this lane setup a little bit from Clan Milk.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I mean, even Mage Bane, with a Valkyrie Magnus lane, there's always that chance if a Valkyrie can land a 5-second or 4-second stun. I mean, Mage Bane's not known for his survivability early on in a match like this, so that's definitely something else that, I mean, of all the lanes, this is definitely the most dangerous as far as Mage Bane getting picked off early on, though it does look like Parasite is going to be up here in the Hellborn jungle, so it is going to help out at least a little bit to maybe keep Mage Bane safe, maybe even roam over to the lane, allow Mage Bane to pick up some early kills. But nonetheless, it is going to be interesting to see a Hag versus Bubbles solo heads up 1v1 in the mid lane as both teams kind of running something close to a 2-1-2. Of course, Parasite being the jungler, so it is a 2v1 down here in the bottom lane, but kind of interesting nonetheless. Just looking at this lane setup, I mean, I would guess Sandwraith is going to get significantly better farm than Mage Bane up in the top.
Yeah, and that, again, obviously, you know, being the 2 versus 1, but again, back to the point of that, the fact that he's facing against this Valkyrie Magnus, and Valkyrie will be able to harass that Mage Bane quite a bit with their range, and again, if they could even jump Mage Bane if they feel like they have the potential to, and not necessarily get a kill onto him, but force him to blink away and use a lot of regen earlier on, so yeah, I definitely agree with you there, of course, as Samwraith should have the better time when it comes down to, of course, being played by Tralfamador once again here for their team. And by the way, obviously, this is a replay cast. We made that point before. And to reiterate, this was after the patch. I believe this match actually happened on Monday. So, yes, those changes were in place. And, of course, that and one of the changes that we did talk about before was a Sandray change, where actually his Desert's Curse, or his Deserted, excuse me, will work while he has Desert's Curse activated on a unit. So, he doesn't necessarily need to be by himself to have the Deserter proc, which, you know, could mean for a little bit more extra damage with that Desert's Curse, but not in the end any huge buff by any means.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about Deserted, of course, is that it does do true damage, not just additional damage. So that is, I mean, slightly more valuable, I guess you could say, than, just adding 15 or 30 damage to what he does. That true damage really makes him hit hard early on. And as we see, he's actually not going to be leveling up Dissipate first, which at least I think of as kind of the traditional Sandwraith. You always get that Deserted as your last thing. Maybe even get a few points in stats before that. And we see level 2, 1 point plopped into Deserted. So obviously, making note of those changes, definitely influencing that Sandwraith pick, no doubt. So, still very intrigued to see how it's going to work out for him. Of course, 3 minutes in now, and no Bloodlust kill. And looking at the farm, still looks relatively even here. Clan Milk getting the slightly better of the farm. Of course, with that jungler, does open up for slightly more efficient lanes.
I actually got the chance to talk to Dog Kaiser about this, and not to put words in his mouth or anything, but it was kind of interesting listening to how, again, his logic being that it wasn't necessarily a big change by any means, and it's very minor when you really think about it, because actually the radius of Deserter is 300 yards. And in fact, you see they are going to go onto Electrician right here. Again, not enough pressure put out, though, and he'll be more than fine. But what that means is the Deserter will go off, obviously, if there's not another hero within 300 yards. That's very close range, and it's not too often where heroes are going to be clogged up. Electrician chasing back, Plague gets the kill! I did not think that was going to happen. I saw Moravis doing that, but I thought for sure he was going to turn around. But no, he gets the kill. He does end up dying for it, as Trophimor will get the kill himself, but that was a little bit interesting of a sequence right there. But real quick to finish my point, though, again, there's not a whole lot of opportunities where, honestly, that change is a big, big deal, as we do see action at the top lane now. Glacius gets caught by a double stun, and that's what I was talking about. He's going to start dropping. Valkyrie going to be able to leap away before Magebane catches him, and we'll be fine as well. So tdM having some big kills here early on.
Yeah, oh, definitely right. And the problem with that exchange down in the bottom lane is that although Moravis was able to pick up that Bloodlust kill, I mean, that's a great boost. So actually hold that thought here as we do see some action in the top. Magnus may find himself in a little bit of trouble. There's a hasted hag here, and I don't think Z-Freak's going to be able to survive this one. Of course, Parasite here inside that Minotaur. There's that Minotaur son, Valkyrie just hiding in the trees, unfortunately unable to do anything to assist Magnus. The Magnus will fall. The kill will actually go to Milkfat on that Parasite. So a nice little turnaround for CM to help that top lane, at least get an assist on that Magebane. But down at the bottom, the problem with that exchange, yeah, he got the Bloodlust bonus gold, but, dying kind of nullifies that effectiveness, and in turn, he actually gave a kill to Sandwraith. So now if you look at that GPM chart, Sandwraith is leading the way, the only hero in the game above 300 GPM, which always, at any point, is a little bit scary.
Always scary, as we talked about before, too. He gets that Helm in the Black Legion, and then eventually that Mock of Brilliance, and becomes close to that unbeatable stage, even against a Magebane. And obviously it comes down to a lot of numbers. In the middle lane, we do see Wretched Hag going to be taken out, as Bubbles applying enough pressure right there to combo him down. Moonmeander, well played on his part, catching Noodle, and good job using that Kelfield, obviously, to make sure you keep him in place, despite having that blink. But by the way, I want to make sure we're synced up, too. Obviously, it is a replay cast. I'm at 5:38, 39... 40.
You are 1 second ahead of me, good sir.
It always seems like that happens. Okay, so
always by 1 second.
My computer is just 1 second better than yours. Okay, there we go. Should be synced up now. Electrician gets picked up by the Wretched Hag, comes in, the Bat Blast going to be used, and Sandwraith will go down, so it ends up being a 1-for-1. But again, Trophimor did get the kill before he died right there, so an unfortunate death, but at the same time, his GPM still remains fairly high.
Exactly. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. All things considered, he kind of a break-even for Trophimor, a little bit of a loss as he is going to have to pour it back. So there is some downtime that's lost here, of course, being dead as well. You can't farm while you're dead. But, I mean, other than that, he's still in great shape. I mean, now even Moonmeander's in pretty good shape as well, just sort of breaking through that 300 GPM barrier. You see Moravis is rotated to the mid lane now to try and put some pressure on Bubbles, and it looks like Hag is going to be stationary down in the bottom as Electrician. Definitely struggling a little bit against that double slow power that Plague Rider and Sandwraith have, synergize with one another. So to continue with that point we made earlier on, though, who's going to farm better, that Magebane or Sandwraith? And, of course, that issue with Magebane in this aggressive lane, he just can't farm nearly as effectively. Sitting only around 200 GPM is definitely a little bit rough. In the mid lane as well, we do see some action. Bubbles on Electrician, and both of them kind of dangerously low here. Moonmeander is going to sip on that bottle. He is going to have a Shell Surf up in just about 2 seconds and may be able to secure a kill. There's that power supply from Moravis, and this is going to be dangerously close. Bubbles going to use a beautiful Shell Surf. Droplendor going to come in as well. Actually not going to get the assist on that. That's kind of unfortunate for Sandwraith. but now he will be solo in this mid lane, so he's going to have just a few seconds of farm.
Yeah, that is definitely a little bit unfortunate for Sandwraith right there. He thought, and I don't necessarily think it was going to kill steal by any means. I mean, that was actually a great turnaround chance by Moravis right there on the Electrician, obviously nearly turning that around onto Moon Meander, getting the kill onto him, but Moon Meander also made a great port at the last second, and obviously able to get the kill. Well played on his part, but, you know, Sandwraith not getting any assist for that. Again, unfortunate, but he's in the middle lane now, going to continue to pick up farm here, but when will he head back to that bottom lane? We'll have to wait and see if he even chooses to do so, because obviously Wretched Hag has now moved down there, so a little bit better potential against that combination, you could definitely argue. More so than the Electrician. So we'll see again what Sandwraith decides to do. But yeah, I mean, Sandwraith, the great thing about him compared to a Magebane too is, by the way, Magebane is going to get jumped right there, and Magebane will fall again. The double stun's so powerful, and on top of Bubbles coming in, that's the kind of team you want to have if you are going to be playing against a Magebane. Glacius also going to get taken out. Parasite coming in with the Catman champion, but he's in a horrible spot now. He will have Wretched Hag blinking in though. For some assistance, the Babba's going to be sets all 3 heroes. However, Parasite did get the kill onto Valkyrie right there. The Trench is around on Magnus and Bubbles as well, as obviously Wretched Hag falls. Parasite wants to get that kill, but I don't think it's going to happen, and Parasite will end up falling to Z-Freak right there with the Lava Surge. Excellent turnaround from Trademark Esports in the end. Very good exchange in terms of numbers in their favor right there.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, just well played by tdM in general. They were so well coordinated, not only to start that off with kind of the perfect CC chain on Magebane, but then after that, microing around, everyone escaping with just a few hit points to spare. Magnus, of course, with that stun to finish it off. I mean, just a super cost-effective exchange. You can see after that, tdM is a really nice lead step for themselves. 2.4k gold, about 2k experience, and all the while, Sandwraith was just farming away in the mid lane, still able to maintain his above 300 GPM farm. And if you look at that GPM tab, it's looking a little bit dark for Clan Milk to start things off. Parasite leading the way and only at 250. Really quite disappointing to see Magebane down below 200 GPM now.
Yeah, but okay, so going back to the point of, even if Magebane was evenly matched with the Sandwraith, I think it's fair to say that Sandwraith ultimately will have the quicker impact for the team, and obviously because of that R ability, because of the ability, not even necessarily needing to port with it, but just pressing the R will not only intimidate the other team in big team fights, but obviously get him some assists, and he can port it into great situations. We do see once again Magebane going to be jumped right there and taken out. Glacius going to be followed up on, and one more auto attack letter from Sender, actually going to get credit for the kill right there. Yeah, this CC is great. I mean, they're playing it very, very well against this Magebane, and you know, it does make you look at that Magebane pick a little bit more as kind of in a hindsight aspect, and especially with that lane matchup. I keep going back to that. I guess a Valkyrie Magnus, very powerful dual lane in terms of double stun, and what's the biggest way to counter a Magebane? CC, and that they have plenty of early on in this game. They're going to drop an Electrician right here, and Moravis will fall as well. So tdM definitely getting on a little bit of a momentum charge right now, and I don't know if it's going to be stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, during that kill up in the top when Magebane fell, Sandwraith was picked off in the mid lane, so, oh gosh, pardon me, he's sitting 2-2-1 now. So, I mean, all things considered, Troubledore is farming pretty well, but I mean, Clan Milk has been doing an okay job at shutting him down, executing opportunities to pick off Sandwraith whenever possible. But, you know, right now it seems Sandwraith isn't even the worst of their troubles, with both Valkyrie and Bubbles farming so well. That definitely makes him nervous. You can also look at the supports. I mean, Plague Rider up to about 200 GPM with Glacius only at 55. So, although Sandwraith farming reasonably well, I think Clan Milk has some more immediate problems that need tending to.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, right now, tdM is no doubt a huge advantage for them early on, 11 minutes in here. You see Bubbles actually going to pick up an invisible rune and may actually run into Cakes here on this Magebane. Don't know if he's going to be able to kill him by himself by any means. It could be close, especially with that Kelfield and the Song of the Sea to Shun. He's going to go for it. There's the Song of the Sea. There's the Kelfield. And as I said, it could be close, and sure enough, was pretty close, but gets the kill nonetheless. So, well played by Moon Meander, and Cakes, man, he's 0-3-1 now. He just cannot get any type of consistent farm early on in the game, and that's always a good sign for the opposition, of course, and exactly what you want to do. So, continues to be worse for him. Trophador on Sandwraith, as you addressed earlier, did die, and he hasn't necessarily been taken off, but he's no doubt a step ahead of the Magebane, and then Bubbles is just having a fantastic game right now. For a Hellborn team, 390 gold per minute currently for him. So, but yeah, the CC, I really think it's showing early on, and that's not going to stop. I mean, if anything, that just gets more powerful as the game goes on for a Hellborn team. So Magebane, no doubt, in a lot of trouble when it comes down to that.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it's interesting to see the way that Clan Milk drafted this because Bubbles was in that first round of picks that our Hellborn side made. They first picked Magnus and Bubbles. So two heroes, very CC-oriented, Bubbles especially. So they're really not too Magebane friendly. It's kind of curious to see Clan Milk opt for that Magebane pickup so late in their draft, given that most of these scary heroes to try and shut down this Magebane were already on the board for TDM, and that's definitely, something to credit TDM's roster. As we kind of noted, they had that 10th pick, and they set themselves up to just be in a really good position to counter whatever Clan Milk threw their way, and they're doing that pretty handily here. I mean, 5-13, only 13 minutes in. Of course, needless to say, TDM is just in fantastic shape.
Sorry, reacting to a nearly hit arrow right there coming out from Riser actually at the bottom lane. Almost hit Magebane, but if it wasn't for a creep jumping in the way, it actually may very likely hit him. So lucky for him, able to avoid a 5-second arrow stun and run away. You see Samwraith at the top lane using the Desert's Curse, getting Wretched Hag to blink away, and then back to farm he goes. So again, Helm of the Black Legion, no doubt in the works for him. In fact, going to be very close here to being finished, getting his life tube. In the meantime, Valkyrie at the bottom lane is going to get jumped. Leaves to wait the last second. The Plague comes out, and that's going to do a lot of damage. A good amount of bounces right there. In comes support from Sandray. Takes out Parasite. The Shell Surf going to miss, but the kill will catch Mage, and he blinks, but he will get stunned after. You see the Song of the Sea Nuke to help finish him off. A nice Bat Blast right there once again from Red. But what an arrow on the Glacius right there that somehow snuck in and managed to take him out before he could set up any type of turnaround potential. So well played again by tdM. And then you see Magmas taking out Wretched Hag. Trademark Esports is making a statement here in Game 1.
I mean, hero picks aside, the lead that they have aside, I mean, that was just so beautifully executed. Trademark picked up 4 kills in exchange for none. They didn't even concede a single death. Wretched Hag got a pretty solid Bat Blast off. Just beautifully executed. That's really all it comes down to. As you noted, that Valkyrie arrow, a 5-second stun on Glacius. Absolutely well done also. We are going to see in the mid lane, Electrician going to be in a little bit of trouble. 1.5-second stun going to connect. Parasite going to come in as well. A beautiful line stun from Magnus. Going to channel that ultimate, and he is going to be able to get it off. Looks like that is going to be the end of Electrician. Parasite going to hop inside a creep, but not for long, as the Eruption does a hell of a lot of damage. Parasite will be able to survive, however, but still, the damage has been done. They do pick up a nice kill on the Moravis. Yet again, well done by Z-Freak, really playing a strong Magnus this game.
Yeah, I mean, overall, TDM just, there's no one playing poorly by any means. I mean, definitely all deserving of credit, just playing so well this game. Z-Freak is having a standout game, I do agree with that. But yeah, again, TDM, the going into this game, we are going to talk about the top 10 rankings. They will be released, the Honcast Community Top 10 rankings on tonight's podcast, and obviously TDM going to be one of the favorites team to perhaps be in the #1 seed, and again, they're just making a reason of that why once again right here, as they're just, and again, Clan Milk by no means a best team in the world, but they are a solid team, and there you go. I mean, a 15-minute concede victory here in Game 1. Trademark Esports comes in, and a little bit of back and forth early on, but once that momentum picked up, TDM just, they can't be stopped, and that seems to be the case a lot lately.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those situations where, we say a lot. Sometimes it's just best to be in that mindset where, we're behind in this game. It's a best-of-3 series. Let's cut our losses, end this game, and just move on, refresh, restart. And that's kind of exactly what they did here. Did they need to tap out quite then? Well, obviously not. They were behind by a big margin and said, Sandwraith is going to outcarry our Magebane at this point. Let's just start over. So, although 15-minute concede is one of those, things like, oh, wow, a 15-minute concede in Game 1. I'm sure it's going to be a great series. A little more, what's the right word I'm looking for here? A little more thought behind it than that, I would say.
Yeah, I think Clan Milk, again, that's just the case as you're kind of putting it there. It's sure they could have played that out, and they could have seen, do you have a Magebane? It's never really over, especially at 15 minutes at that point, but they're going up against Samwraith, getting a solid farm. They're going up against an overall team, just so much momentum on their side. It's just, why even bother? Why even put ourselves through that? Let's just go ahead and move on to the second game and to see what we can make happen. So, but again, a case of Samwraith being picked, but did he truly have the biggest impact that game? I mean, just like the first game, he went something like 0-1-15 when we saw him against Frey. This time around, I don't have the stats actually just right in front of me, but it was he went 3-2-5. So,
yeah.
It's not like it's actually solid. He did have a pretty good impact, I guess, this time. Better impact than last time, but I don't know. Maybe we're going to start seeing Samwraith more because of this.
Yeah. I mean, perhaps. In that game, I think it'd be fair to say MVP, kind of moon meander right there. I mean, 5-0-6, and at least 3 of those kills if not 4, were on Magebane. And a couple of them just solo, hey, look, Magebane, I'm a hard counter to you. I mean, I think one of the things demonstrated in that game pretty clearly was just how effective Bubbles can be against a Magebane, especially if you have a Bubbles in a solo role that's not a suicide lane that can stay leveled appropriately and be kind of aggressive, move around the map, and kind of pick on Magebane a little bit. I mean, really just did an effective job of shutting that Magebane down. A lot of those Magebane kills were secured because of either the Kelp Field or that Song of the Sea.
Yeah, well, that's going to do it for our first game. It's a best out of 3, though, so game number 2. Let's not take too long of a break here. we got to take a little bit of a break. We'll be right back, though. Game 2 coming up next, guys.